So, in what seems to be a cursed fight, Serghei Spivac versus Shamil Gaziev has been cancelled again, and replacing Serghei Spivac, who has pulled out of this fight, is going to be Waldo Cortes-Acosta, as he is going to be fighting against Shamil Gaziev. This is the third time now Spivac versus Gaziev has been cancelled, and now in this case, we do have a replacement to fight against Gaziev in Qatar this weekend in about 3 or 4 days' notice, and it is going to be, of course, Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who is coming off a pretty big win. And if you want my honest opinion, I think that Waldo Cortes-Acosta stepping in on 3 days' notice is going to win this fight. I do think he is going to beat Shamil Gaziev. Now, Shamil Gaziev is still a very dangerous fighter. We all do love Shamil Gaziev, of course, because he is quite a funny individual in general. Especially kind of in the build-up to the Rosenstrike fight, I think was probably where he did kind of let his personality be known. But he, of course, did lose that fight in what I would consider to be somewhat embarrassing fashion, in a fight which he found some early success, but eventually just death-gassed completely, and then ended up retiring on the stool due to quite literally death-gassing and just getting touched up by the kickboxer in Rosenstrike. Now, since then, though, he has taken step downs in competition at the UFC heavyweight division level, and now he was getting ready to take another step up against the ranked Serghei Spivac, in what would have been a fight which probably would have put him back into that top 10, that top 5 sort of conversation, I would say. It wouldn't have put Gaziev in a very high rank, but it would have put him an opportunity to give him a shot at someone maybe like Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who is a very highly ranked fighter now in the UFC, stepping in on short notice as well. Of course, he did, of course, beat Spivac himself, and then he fought against Pavlovich, who is one of the highest ranked fighters in the UFC at that time, and then he beat Deliha in what is somewhat of a controversial fight. You know, Deliha thought that he knocked out Waldo Cortes-Acosta. It turned out to be like an eye poke, and then they restarted the fight. You could argue they shouldn't have restarted the fight, considering they literally had like all of the doctors and all of the team in the octagon. So kind of the fight was declared over. So it was a bit of a controversial one, I would say. But eventually, Waldo Cortes-Acosta did still knock him out, and he did actually get a $50,000 performance bonus for that, which is quite interesting. But the thing about Cortes-Acosta is he has been impressing me a lot recently. I can tell that he does have a very good skill set at heavyweight. Originally, he really was just a boxer for the most part. We started to see a lot more wrestling start to get implemented in his game, especially when he did take on a dangerous striker in Rebellis de Spain. And honestly, I do think, as I said in the intro, I think he is going to go out there and beat Shamil Gaziev. Shamil Gaziev is a fun fighter. He has very good wins. I would consider a win over Pavel Delitko to be a good win that has aged well. He also has a win over Darko Stosic, who is a former UFC fighter and has been finding some success at the KSW level and now the regional level in Poland as well. But he did actually get dropped by Darko Stosic in that fight, and he did come back, and then he knocked out Darko Stosic with a big punch in that matchup. The thing about Gaziev, on the feet, I think he's pretty awkward. I think he's going to be a bit of a standing target for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Yes, Gaziev has power. Yes, he does have pressure, and he does have a lot of power up close. I think Waldo Cortes-Acosta's boxing and his leg kicks as well are going to add up, and I think he's going to be able to keep Gaziev at bay. I do believe he can defend the takedown in this fight. We have seen it before. It is always going to be a bit of a concern for a striker at this weight class, their takedown defense and get-up game, but I think against Gaziev, he should be okay. And then on top of that as well, Gaziev's cardio. You know, he did show improved cardio in 3 rounds against Dante Almeida at the end of the day, but that was a bit more of a dominant performance. He wasn't really struggling like he was against Rosenstrike. So I think against Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who, yes, is coming in on 3 days' notice, is going to be ready, and I think he's going to be able to put some hands on Gaziev. Now, I would typically say that being a heavyweight, he probably doesn't cut any weight, but the fact that he has been weighing in near the 265-pound limit might imply that Waldo Cortes-Acosta has to do a very small weight cut, or at least a very small sort of rapid diet plan to cut down from 265 pounds, but it is heavyweight. I highly doubt the weight cut is really going to be much of a factor in this fight. So with that being said, let me know what you think about this fight in the comments below. In my opinion, I think it's better. I think that a win over Shamil Gaziev for Cortes-Acosta puts him back in those conversations, which he once was in the top 5 sort of opportunity, I would say. He wasn't a top 5 ranked fighter, but he got the opportunity to fight someone highly ranked. And then for Gaziev, I think it does the same thing. It puts him back in that opportunity where he can fight someone very highly ranked in the division. So very exciting seeing a top-ranked guy step in on short notice like this, and I think it should make for a very fun fight. I am going to be picking Waldo Cortes-Acosta, and I'm going to be picking him to win by decision, or maybe a late TKO in this matchup.